Hey, Evan here with Inner Worlds Astrology, and today I'm going to talk about the solar eclipse happening on December 4th in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, before I begin, if you'd like to schedule a birth chart reading with me, please click the link in the description below. Also, please like this video and subscribe to my content to get more videos like this. Now, number one, because this is an eclipse, it is even more significant than the typical new moon because there are effects of this that hang over us for 6 months into the future. So it's going to be really important to think about this in the context of, both history and also what's coming up. And with this new beginning that is associated with new moons, because that's what this really is a new beginning, it's also flavored by this proximity to the south node at about 1 degree of Sagittarius. And with the south node, it's about shedding or releasing things that don't serve us anymore. So there's a dichotomy with this new moon, in which we have to begin something new, but in the process, we also have to be giving something up. And with Sagittarius, it's a lot about beliefs, belief systems, the truth with the capital T. And so as we begin something new, it's actually going to be about a larger pattern that shapes our entire lives. And Sagittarius is also about freedom to some extent. And if you think about where we've been the past year and a half, 2 years, I can see how in the collective there's an energy here of even looking to Jupiter and Aquarius, which I'll talk about, for growth and expansion and getting outside of our boxes. And so this eclipse is very important as a sort of ending, really, of the journey we've been on for the last year and a half, 2 years, and thinking about what inspires us going forward. Now, going through these themes, let's start with the elements, right? Because astrology really does come down to the 4 elements: earth, water, fire, air. And over the past few lunar cycles, we've had some imbalances with the elements. Around the Libra new moon, we had a lot of fire and air, for example. But in this case, I feel pretty good about the balance here and the diversity of energies. So we have Mars in Scorpio, we have Neptune in Pisces to cover the water. We have Uranus in Taurus, which is an earth sign, Venus in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, that covers the earth signs. And then we have this fire energy with Sagittarius, the Sun, Moon, and Mercury there. And then with air signs, we have Saturn and Jupiter still in Aquarius. And then we also have the true node, south node axis of Gemini and Sag. And so with this eclipse, it really is calling to attention that south node, north node axis that we've been on. And with Gemini, the true node there, it's a lot about seeing 2 sides of every situation through information, data, articles in the news media, and through that we have to embrace a little bit of ambiguity, and it's been very difficult for a lot of people, especially when the south node is in Sagittarius, which is about belief systems and to some extent a little bit of self-righteousness mixed in. So all of us to some extent over the past year and a half, 2 years, have felt like pretty firm in our beliefs, or a lot of conviction about what we believe, and saying, hey, this is the right way to do something, this is the right way to think about something. But the true node in Gemini is saying, hey, did you look at this situation? Did you look at that situation? Did you think about it this way? And so, for people with a discerning mind, they've been able to find, contradictory pieces of information. They've been able to hold all of that together. For other people who are focused more on the south node, it's been a little bit more of, this is my way or the highway, this is my belief system, and if you're not in my group, then it's going to be hard to kind of relate to you. And so we've been struggling with this over the past year and a half, and so this eclipse is sort of a check-in on this to say, are all the things that you say you believe in, are they still holding true? Are there things you need to fix? And what, after you fix those things, what is that final belief system that you can carry forward as we move into the Taurus-Scorpio axis coming up? And again, because this is an eclipse, these are belief systems that will affect you over the next 6 months. It might not happen right away on this day. It might be something that you slowly evolve through, heading into the spring. Now, again, Sag is about belief systems and the truth. And so Jupiter is the ruler of this eclipse. All the attention really should go to Jupiter next. And because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. And Jupiter is in Aquarius, which is about progress, change, disruption, awakenings. Disrupting old belief systems, disrupting old systems, and building something from the ground up that works for everyone. There's almost a democratic energy a little bit also, and a revolutionary energy here. And what's interesting is that Jupiter is feeling a lot of pressure from Mars in Scorpio at this time. So Mars is almost in an exact square to Jupiter coming from the sign of Scorpio. And, Mars in Scorpio is really about digging in, doing internal work as a means for transformation. And in general, when Mars is squaring Jupiter, it just pressures that Jupiter energy a little bit about expansion, growth, new horizons, knowledge, wisdom. And so with Mars being our energy and squaring Jupiter, I see this revolutionary spirit activated by Mars. And keep in mind, Mars was previously opposite Uranus during the full moon in Taurus. And so it has kind of been charged up by this energy associated with Aquarius because Uranus rules Aquarius. And so I don't think that's an accident. I think that actually creates a little bit more intention behind this square. So Mars has already opposed Uranus, saying, okay, how do we want to shake things up? How do we want to rethink our value systems? And now squaring Jupiter, saying, okay, we've rethought our value systems. Now this is how we grow. This is how we expand. And with Jupiter and Aquarius, a lot of this energy is being activated through the internet and social media because Aquarius rules those things as well. And so again, an activation of the free-spiritedness, a desire for change and transformation, a desire for freedom potentially, as that's kind of what Sag is associated with as well. And so this could be cathartic for people who have felt limited over the last 2 years. Because again, Jupiter is growth and expansion. So finally, we might have a little bit more of an outlet. We have a way to push our energy towards Jupiter there. Because Mars is really about the activation of our willpower. And, you can see reactions and activity swelling up throughout the world of people coming together. Because Aquarius is also about groups with shared ideals. So people have been finding others. If you really pay attention to what's going on out there, people have been able to find common ground, common connections with people who are otherwise nothing like them. And so this energy is gaining steam already ahead of this eclipse, but I could see it peaking a little bit around this time, at least peaking in a, in terms of, over the past few months kind of time frame. Now, number 2, this eclipse is in a wide conjunction with Mercury in Sagittarius, and with Mercury being our thinking communication style, Mercury in Sag is a proclamation of the truth. It's about wider perspectives because Sagittarius naturally is, the opposite of Gemini. It's about those big ideas that we can anchor to. And so more optimistic perspectives regarding the future. And we're thinking in a more futuristic way with that fire energy because fire and air are more futuristic, future-driven signs. And so we're pushing our energy outward as well. And Mercury will advocate for the things they believe in. There is passion to this placement. Now, what I also find interesting is that Mercury at the same time is squaring Neptune. So it's not always going to be clear for people about, where things stand, where they stand. So even as people might be advocating for what they believe in, they might have been misled to believe what they believe because Neptune is always a harbinger of confusion, a conduit for confusion. Even though it can be quite inspiring and spiritual, oftentimes it's misused. It's a false path usually to enlightenment. It's a false path to escapism, a false path out of the ego. And so for a lot of people, you have to be careful about this. How are you getting this information? Are you believing these things from moments of escapism that were on false pretenses? Or are you gaining this from absolute clarity that came out of intense, concentration during a meditation or something? So Pisces is very complicated, right, where Neptune is right now, because Pisces contains all 12 signs within it. So it can manifest a number of ways, and it's boundaryless. So my advice is, as you come up with your more, solid belief system, really consider what are the sources of that belief system. It doesn't mean that they have to be all based in fact, right? They can be based on, ultimately, right, everything we believe in is coming from some emotional place. So just to summarize this Mercury square to Neptune, really it's that our convictions have to be grounded in some degree of inspiration, emotion, intuition. But at the same time, they're going to have to incorporate facts on the ground because the true node is in Gemini, and then we also have this Aquarius energy. So kind of reconciling all of that and not getting lost in the fog of Neptune, but using Neptune as a very, healthy conduit of inspiration. Now, also another significant aspect of this eclipse is that Venus is in Capricorn, conjuncting Pluto. And Venus is in Capricorn for the next few months through early March because of a retrograde that's coming up. And with this conjunction to Pluto, on a personal level, we might deal with secrets and power struggles and mind games in our own personal relationships. So Pluto really forces us to make the necessary transformations after we do, our own investigations, or we dig up the dirt in a situation, something that's always been nagging at us and we didn't want to bring it up, but now it has to be brought up. That's a very Plutonic thing. So around this time, secrets might come up between you and your partner, or maybe on the positive side, just a moment of transformation where you evolve the relationship. And this is all going to be happening because we can more effectively psychoanalyze our partners at this time. On a collective level, Venus in Capricorn is about really our financial system. And with Pluto there, secrets could come out related to our financial system. And with Pluto in Capricorn, generally, we're talking about very, very powerful institutions, very powerful people. But Mars is in Scorpio right there, sextiling it, and that's very investigative and doubling down on that Pluto energy. So secrets about institutions could come out, or about powerful people, whether that's through news articles or court cases or just investigative journalism. And so that could be, that could be information that shapes our beliefs, that shapes our desire to advocate for progress, for a better system. And so pay attention to how that dynamic plays out. Now, another significant aspect is that Saturn is sextiling this Sun-Moon conjunction. So Saturn has been in Aquarius since December of last year, and ever since then, it's really been clamping down and restricting our ability to gather in groups, because Aquarius is about groups. And with this sextile, it could actually strengthen the authority's ability to restrict gatherings. So there might be new rules issued that prevent, gatherings once again. However, this is going to go up against the convictions of the people. So people are, shedding old belief systems, creating new ones based on all the energies I've talked about. And so if this clashes with the rules that the authorities have set with Saturn and Aquarius, it could create a little bit more conflict. It adds another layer to this whole thing. And so Jupiter has also been in Aquarius this year, and this has been driving a little bit more of the revolutionary energy and that drive for progress. And so even though Saturn has arguably won this fight all year, and Saturn is the stronger planet, because this eclipse is ruled by Jupiter, I see this as a small window of opportunity for those convictions and those desires for expansion and freedom among the public to maybe overtake some of the rules and to say enough is enough. So we've had almost 2 years to do the self-reflection, to trust the authorities, to say, okay, you have our best interest out, you're looking out for us, etc., etc. But I do see this time as being a reset. And as part of that reset, there's a desire to not only dream about the future and state our convictions about the future we want, but to try to bring that future into the present and say, we want that future now. And fire signs are very outward and active energies, so they're not passive. It's not a passive energy with Sagittarius. It is very comfortable initiating something or exploring new horizons. And how would you be able to explore that horizon, right, if there's just rigid rules everywhere? So at a certain point, there's pressure on institutions to say, hey, maybe you've become too strict or too rigid. It's time to change. And that's doubled down by the fact that Sagittarius is a mutable sign, which is about adaptability and change. So even as we come up with these belief systems, it's really about changing the system. Now, Uranus is inconjunct to this eclipse, and that with an inconjunct, which is 150 degrees, there's a subtle tension that's, in this case, trying to shake us out of our comfort zone. So Uranus in Taurus is about, creating instability, but also new value systems out of that instability. So it's forcing us to recalibrate as well. What are the things, like the material things we place value in? What does our money system look like? How should we be able to make money? That's definitely playing a role here. So, I keep going back to this, but in other videos too. But like maybe a universal basic income, like a UBI, would come up at this time. You know, maybe we realize with all these rules that it's harder and harder to make money. It's harder to have a traditional career when there's all these restrictions. So, how does that play a role? Now, Mars is also trining Neptune, so this is another significant aspect. As we face tension with Jupiter trying to set us free, I see this Neptune energy is helping us to make it even more compassionate. So, what is a conviction that, is harmonious with what other people need? So, it could also be a very spiritual connection. So we have a belief system that is tied to insights that we gain through meditation potentially. And this is all because Neptune in Pisces is really about lowering our own egos to let in other energies and merge with the masses. And so that sort of inspirational unification is very accessible to us because Mars is in Scorpio. So this is about the process is really us reflecting on ourselves, doing shadow work, investigating, and transforming ourselves, but then merging with the collective and saying, okay, I'm in a higher place now, I'm in a better place, and now I'm ready to share that experience and share in that experience with other people. So this gives me even more signals that there could be group dynamics really coming to the forefront at this time. And so my advice is to continue to pay attention to your intuition. I assume most viewers of this video have a lot of intuition and they get downloads, and that's great. Keep channeling that. And Pisces and Sagittarius are both about expansion. Even though those signs are squares to each other, I see this as ultimately they are compatible in the sense that they're both spiritual and expansive. Neptune is a little bit more, and Pisces is a little bit more ethereal. Sagittarius is about more tangible, like wisdom and knowledge that you would gain. And then, another piece, just going back to Venus here, but bringing Mars back in. Mars is sextiling Venus, by the way. So not just, this isn't just a time to investigate and have intense conversations with our own current partners or friends. It's also a time to start new relationships because of a Mars-Venus sextile. Mars is about initiation and action. So start those conversations with maybe people who you're involved with through business or career. It's a great time to send like a LinkedIn message. A very good time also to be creative because Venus rules the arts. So, whether that's you're trying to grow your career, trying to reach out to someone who can help you, or you're trying to start that, art class, like honestly, this is a great time for that. And I would see it as in a lot of cases creative because that Venus energy is also sextiling Neptune and Pisces. Now we also have a Sun-Moon trine to Chiron, which is about healing and health. So as we come up with our new convictions and belief systems, it's really tied to new visions of healing and new visions of health, especially because Chiron in Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's about beginnings. So I do see this as a time of reevaluating, what is good health. And, given the situation we're in, that would have ripple effects, right? That's a very important decision that a lot of people are grappling with right now. What does it mean to be healthy? What is my path to good health? Not just going on autopilot anymore, but saying like, can I be my own pioneer of good health? So just want to close off by tying everything together, and I really want to talk about it through the prism of the four elements. Because I think what's beautiful about this eclipse is that we have a nice balance. So it's really all centered around a belief system with Sagittarius, right? It's all about conviction. What inspires you? What brings out your passion? What is the big idea? What is that wider perspective? What gives you perspective? What gives you an optimistic outlook on life? Sagittarius is very optimistic and it wants to explore. What makes you want to explore? I think that's a question to answer. And if you could write a letter to yourself from 2 years ago before everything started, what would you say? Who is the new you versus then? And because again, the eclipse is a reset. Really think about, where have you reset your life? Where have you reset your beliefs? But the key here also is not to be self-righteous and not to be so set in your ways that you refuse to hear another side. Because this is where the other elements come in. We have air signs, like we have the true node in Gemini, and we have the other planet, 2 planets in Aquarius. Air signs are objective and detached. So even as you hold these beliefs, they have to be based in fact to some extent, and you also have to be open to the facts that come in. So be flexible. Sagittarius is a flexible sign. It's mutable. So take advantage of that. Be adaptable. Be comfortable with ambiguity. Don't just say, this is how it is. We also still have this water energy right now. So, you know, and I hope I'm not making it too convoluted, but really it is about holding all these things equally at once. The facts with the air signs, the emotion, the intuition with the water signs, the passion with the fire signs, and then finally the earth signs is about practicality and resources. And I just feel like resources are going to become very important, very precious to us over the next year and a half when the true and south nodes switch to Taurus and Scorpio. Taurus and Scorpio are about survival, whether that's through personal or shared resources. So right now, really do the work to journal. See how far you've come since 2 years ago. Really take stock of that, because a lot of people have changed more than they realize. And it's hard to tell when you're the person looking at yourself in the mirror every day, right? Going day by day. It's incremental to you, but maybe you see a friend that you haven't seen since before everything started, and they say, hey, you've changed a lot. I barely recognize the things you're saying. I barely recognize you. You know, those things can happen, especially with Venus and Pluto conjunction right now. Maybe this is a great time to unify with old friends, get back together with them, and talk about all these hidden things and talk about the difficult things. There's a lot of difficult things out there in the world right now, and a lot of difficult subjects that probably weren't discussed at the dinner table over the holidays, right? You know, not all families are going to bring that up. So who are the people who you can talk about this with and say, have you transformed? How much have I transformed? And what is left? What do I still need to do to fully transform? And so I really can see how for a lot of people this is incredibly positive experience. So again, as long as you do this without getting lost in the fog of Neptune and Pisces, as long as you don't take a false path to enlightenment and you do the hard work, right? This is also hard work. It's about daily routines. What are the rituals and things that you can do to constantly improve yourself, improve your perspective, and you know, marry this concept of there's a time for spirituality, but then there's also a time for fact gathering. As long as you can blend all these things together, I see it as a really positive time. So I want to thank you for watching this. If you want a reading, the link is in the description box. Also, please like this video, subscribe to my content, and thank you. Have a good day, morning, evening, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Bye.